I am delighted to welcome to Standard Issue award-winning screenwriter Andrea Gibbs. Andrea, hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Delighted to be here.
Thanks for coming on. You're the woman of the telly hour right now.
I am at the moment. I don't know how long it lasts. You're only shiny for a very short while.
We've got you while you're shiny.
Yeah. I'm a bit shiny just now, so I'm grateful to grab me while I'm still shiny.
So Miss Austen, your 4-part adaptation of Jill Hornby's novel of the same name, which you also exec produced, is currently on the BBC. For those who aren't familiar with the book, could you tell us the story at the heart of Miss Austen?
Miss Austen is basically a love story in that kind of Austen way, but not the love story you would expect, because this is really a love story between two sisters. It's about sisterly love. It's also about sisterhood in a wider, bigger context as well, because the book actually, and we like to think that we're lifting the lid on the position of women in that society at that time and their total lack of agency and visibility. I mean, they didn't have property rights. That's why Jane writes all her books and makes everyone get really great matches where there's money, because women didn't have the opportunities apart from, making a good marriage, because they didn't have any rights to property themselves. So basically, Miss Austen is about looking at Cassandra and Jane's relationship, because neither of them married in the end. So they spent their lives, till Jane died, she was only 41. And then Cassandra lived for another 3 decades after. I mean, Cassandra lived into her 70s. But while Jane was alive, they were this inseparable twosome. I think that what is really fascinating about it is, and what has brought all of us to it, is the mystery underneath the act that Cassandra did. She burnt the majority of Jane's correspondence after she died. Because for what? For why? What are the reasons? I mean, some people consider it to be an act of literary vandalism. And I think Jill Hornby's book starts to look and dig at possible motivations for why she might have done this, which we then take on and explore in the drama. And a lot of it, I think we have come to the conclusion, is that it's about love and legacy and reputation and ensuring that her sister's novels spoke for themselves. That's where we've come down and where Jill's book is. So it's kind of redeeming Cassandra Austen and saying, actually, look at this, look what she did. It was a noble act.
Did it change your mind? Had you thought of Cassandra Austen as a vandal or as a protector?
I didn't even really know the story. I read Austen when I was younger, obviously at school and at uni, but to be honest, I was more of a Bronte girl, actually.
Same.
Yeah, I really loved the moors and the darkness and, Heathcliff hammering on the window and Kate Bush singing the song and all of that. I was just kind of, I'm so much more at home with this edgy darkness. I mean, I thought she was really good, Austen, obviously, and funny. She's really funny, and I don't think people really realize that. She's a brilliant satirist. She's not just a romantic novelist. She takes the society apart, and she's witty, and she's quite bitchy at times about certain other characters. I mean, she's got a sharp old tongue in terms of her writing. But it was always like the Brontes for me, and then D.H. Lawrence, I was just kind of into all that dark kind of stuff. And then when the book was presented to me in manuscript and I read it, I thought, oh my goodness, there's a real story here that I was not aware of. And I didn't even really know about Cassandra and her sacrifice, because that's basically what she's done. She sacrificed her own life for her sister. And I think there's an implication that maybe the books would not have got written if it hadn't been for Cassandra being the muse. Jane would read it aloud and Cassandra would listen, give advice. She was there on her shoulder all the way through the novels. After Jane died, she made sure that a couple of the novels got published posthumously. So Cassandra has been the keeper of this flame. And so actually we should be really grateful to her. We shouldn't be reviling her. We should be thankful that she actually did it. So I had no idea. And reading the book and then working on doing the research and digging more into the character, I just thought, what an amazing woman. And so I think that's why I wanted to do it, because I wanted to foreground her and say she wasn't jealous, she wasn't resentful, because that could be somebody's implication as to why she, you know, she burnt everything. What she was she was a serious protector who knew that Jane was going to have longevity. I mean, imagine now, you can't burn your emails and you can't burn your digital footprint. You know, it was like she had this kind of window into the future, knowing that in the future, privacy was not a thing. You know, we were all going to have to, we always sort of reveal everything about ourselves. We overshare, we post photographs that are highly flattering on the internet.
Oh, thanks for checking out my Instagram before coming on the podcast.
Exactly. We filter ourselves to buggery, don't we? Just to make sure we get our angles right, all of that. And I think Cassandra she just was like, I'm sorry, but this is dying with me. You know, anything that Jane wrote is dying with me.
And I think reputation was even more key, particularly for women in that period of time.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I mean, she was published anonymously to begin with.
A lady wrote it.
By a lady.
Yeah.
And I think I read something somewhere that she had chosen to do that, but I can't verify that. I'm not sure. But I do think that reading about her and digging into the material that we've got, I think she was not interested in fame per se. That wasn't her motivator. Yes, she wanted to make money, so she was interested in commercial success. But I think that was because she realized the duty she had to kind of bring money after her father died. Cassandra and her were responsible for their mother, you know, and there's a scene in the show where Cassandra is counting out their money, basically, and saying, look how great our brothers are. They've given us this and they've given us that and they're going to give us this. And one of the brothers had this absolute massive estate in Kent, you know, and he was offering like £100 or something like that for whatever. I mean, I know that would have been a fair sum then, and Jane is just like, oh, look at me, I'm useless. So the pressure on them to try and survive financially was really great. And they were totally dependent on brothers. I mean, their father was dead. So it was precarious. I think it was a precarious time. And she was pushing an elephant up a hill, trying to be a kind of a novelist at that time as a woman. So she's pretty remarkable on a lot of fronts.
She really is. So how, as a writer, does it feel to be writing about one of our most famous and revered writers, to have her in your hands?
It's terrifying. I'm oh my goodness, I'm very, I'm not worthy. And, you know, trying to get inside her head. The really great thing about the book is that Jill's already done that first step for me. You know, Jill Hornby's already, so we're going Jane Austen, Jill Hornby, me. And the really important thing about adaptation, I think, and I often get a bit frustrated because some people think that adaptation is just cutting and pasting. So you just got the book and you just cut and paste it and you put it on the screen. It's so not like that. You've got to really dig into the material because a book is an internal thing and screen stories are external. Screen stories are all about behavior, the whole showing it rather than necessarily telling. Whereas in a book, your relationship with your reader is that they will run their own film in their head. So it's my job as an adapter, if you like, to find the film within the novel. And inevitably that means changes. It means you have to look at what's the most important incidents in the book, work out how you're gonna structure it, which are the characters that you need to push together because you haven't got space for like 125 million. So who are you going to and make, you know, all of that stuff. Adaptation is a really, really, really hard old gig. You know, I sometimes think that writing an original would just be easier, but I wouldn't know where to start now. I'm like, oh no, I need a book. I need somebody else who've done a lot of work for me before I can kind of, you know, stow in. So yeah, it was quite a big undertaking to take on Jane Austen. And also we're putting her on the screen, which is, you know.
Yeah, unusual, right? This is almost the first time.
I think there's been a couple of other films where she's been in her own story. But I think this is the first time on TV, but I'm sure you'll get a million people correcting me on that when your podcast goes out. Because I think that's what we're getting a lot of stuff at the moment about, you know, about people writing and saying, well, I'm not sure that was quite right for Georgian Times, or I'm not, you know, people, oh, that bonnet, really? You get it. We get a lot of that, you know.
We don't have time to discuss people, Andrea.
That is what, yeah. So I don't know. I think that I was very, very nervous, but somehow using, Jane's own novels were there for me to read. There was Jill's book. So I had these two really great sources. And then obviously I've got to bring my own thing to it. So then there's me. And then finally there's the amazing actress who comes along and interprets the character. And she, Patsy Ferran, is utterly phenomenal.
She's fantastic.
She is utterly fantastic. And she therefore brings her own magic to bear. I suppose all I can say is I hope we've done Jane Austen proud, because Patsy certainly does embody for me what I think the spirit of Jane Austen is. I mean, I think she's amazing.
Yeah, to be sure. And also I've seen a lot of reviews saying it watches as if Austen could have written it, which is high praise indeed.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I would love to think that it is like an Austen. It's his own Austen. Aisling Walsh, who directed it, she's a masterful director. And I've worked with her before, so we collaborated together on Elizabeth is Missing with Glenda Jackson.
Brilliant.
So
yep.
We get inside each other's heads. I mean, yeah, she's amazing. And Christine Langan and Stella Mers, who were the producers, there was this very close-knit team of women, 4 of us. And I think together, obviously, we took the decision that we were going to tell this story in a particular way, so that we were absolutely going to flash back, that the letters were going to be, Jane's letters were going to be the, if you like, the portal into the past for Cassandra. Memory could then float up to the top and she could revisit the events of her own life, but from a different prism. That was an early decision. For Christine and I, we were working on it together, and then Aisling and Stella came on later. So we knew that that's what we wanted to do. And we also knew that we wanted it to feel quite classic in its tone, quiet. We wanted it to unfold slowly. That was deliberate because, people are so used to now to fast cutting and event in drama. But sometimes you just want people to sit down and put their phones down and just watch. And so I think that's what we really hoped for, that people would just let it wash over them and they would kind of be transported back to something that Jane could have conceived of herself. So if people are saying that, then that will make us all very, very happy, because that was definitely what we hoped to try and do, I think, was to do it like that.
It is such a proper female dream team. Obviously, women are at the heart of the story of Miss Austen, but as you've just said, they were also at the heart of the making of it, in front of and behind the camera. How is that for a work environment? It's still really unusual in telly.
I'm afraid it is, sadly. I mean, I think the percentage of female directors who make films is something, I can't remember the statistics. I'm in the Writers Guild and we've done lots of research into this, and it's always been shocking. It's like 11% of all films made in a certain year were made by women. And not only that, you might get a first film, but see, getting that second film for a woman director, no matter how successful your first film has been, the percentages drop off even more. So it's really quite depressing, even now. And we did a press call a couple of weeks ago, and on the stage was me, Aisling, Christine Langan, and then there was Keeley, Jessica Hines, Sinova Carlson, and Rose Leslie, all women. And it was just brilliant. We sat there, and it, if that's not an indicator, if a physical indicator of what the work was, then I'm not quite sure what is. I mean, we had some great men working on it as well. I mean, our DOP is a guy called Cy Bell, and the way he's photographed it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's beautiful. And he brought a different energy. We were there, the women were sort of in the key creative positions, but Cy came in and he brought a completely different energy to the movement, to the camera movement and all of that. And the way he photographed everything was so beautiful. And then Aisling works very, very, very closely with an Irish designer called John Hand, and she brought him in as well. So we had these really, really, really great men working with us, but there was just this wee arrowhead of women at the front making it, if you like, being in charge even,
I'd love to see
calling the shots.
I think Jane Austen would approve. She strikes me as very much a woman's woman.
Yeah, I think she would approve greatly. And Cassandra would be delighted as well because, because as far as Cassandra was concerned, Cassandra's a really fascinating character because she's got this immense sense of loyalty and duty. And she's so stoic and sensible, whereas Jane is a maverick. Jane is your archetypal writer. Oh, whoa, I can't do it. I'm blocked. I can't find anything. I'll have to go for a very long walk. Oh no, I can't do that either because, and or let's hoover or let's clean the cupboards. Procrastination central before you can actually get going with any work. Jane is she's got that typical writer's kind of makeup. Whereas Cassandra is just, this needs to be done. That needs to be done. Well, you need to do this, you need to do that. And we all need a Cassandra in our lives, I think, in some kind of form. So I think Cassandra would have been at the helm producing this, while Jane was messing about in the background with the scripts.
That's you. You're Jane.
Like me. Yeah, well, not quite in her league, but certainly. And Cassandra would just have been, we need to do this, we need to do that. And she would have pulled it off.
Totally. Obviously, they are the love story. Jane and Cassie are such a wonderful love story and sort of tribute to sisterhood. And like you say, there is also the wider sisterhood as well. And so, in fairness, given one of her lines is, as if anyone is interested in us women, she might not like it, but I do want to talk a little bit about Mary Austen, née Bunbury, who married Jane and Cassie's brother James. She is a delicious little slice of bitter and sort of more of her time behind her time even than Jane and Cassie. Was
phenomenal.
She fun to write?
Yeah. Oh my God. She was one of my favorites to write, to be honest.
I can tell. You can really tell.
Yeah. And also she's so beautifully drawn in the book as well. So, again, half the battle. But I remember when we first were about to go into production, we did a wee read through of all the scripts, and there was still COVID stuff going on at that time, so we couldn't get all the actors in the room. So we read the parts, as women read the parts, and I got to read Mary Austen. And I used to be an actor, and I was reading Mary Austen, and I just thought, oh my God, move over, Jessica, because I want to play this. I just thought, this is, and then Jessica Hines came along and you were like, I could never have done it like that.
She's cracking.
Superb.
She's perfect, yeah.
Yeah, her timing, the way they cut to her and you just see the looks on her face and you just think this is glorious.